Hello, namaste, assalamu alaikum, welcome to Cricket for Us, and today we're going to discuss the Pakistan versus Australia ODI series plus the one-off T20 with the main man, Aaron, the cricket connoisseur. How you doing, man?
I'm doing incredibly well, Asjad, to be honest. Yeah, when we're recording this, just one day to go until the start of the 2022 LV County Championship. County cricket's back. We've got the IPL on, loads of international cricket. Again, not a bad time to be alive, eh? At this moment in time, lots of cricket going on, lots to look forward to, and yeah, hopefully for my beloved Warwickshire, we can go back to back in this year's tournament.
If you guys go back to back, I will be astonished in the best way possible. For you, obviously. I'm
Oh,
supporting
I'll
Yorkshire,
be insufferable if that happens.
Fair enough. Right. So let's talk about this particular series then, right? As you can see at the bottom, we're going to have some highlights at the bottom anyway. But basically, Pakistan wins the ODI series. A shocker. I know I predicted 2-1 anyways, but after the first game, everyone was on Pakistan. Everyone dissecting the Pakistani mindset, the way they went about the innings, the way Pakistan doesn't have any bowlers. The first innings of the second game, exactly the same thing because Australia scored 340, whatever, right? The highest chase Pakistan could have ever tried to achieve and actually succeed in an ODI match. And it looked like Pakistan's not winning this one. And then, Babar Azam decided to bat at 130 strike rate for most of the innings, something that you don't see him bat. Like not even in T20s, he did that in an ODI match, and it was sensational batting. So let me start off with, first off, were you surprised by the end result of this particular series?
Not really, to be honest. I think it could have gone either way between the two sides, and yeah, we can't mention this series without talking about Babar Azam and the newly ranked number 3 batter in ODI cricket, Mr. Imam Haq, who's averaging 53.97 in ODI cricket. Absolutely ludicrous. He's got 9 centuries in 23 matches.
Yeah.
I believe ridiculous stats, to say the least. Leading run scorer in this series, 298 runs in 3 matches, 2 centuries, and a 100 plus strike rate. Says it all. Both he and Babar Azam absolutely impeccable in this series, and it was a great series, wasn't it? It was absolutely fantastic. You did have that surprise result in the first game with Australia taking it and drawing first blood. Then you had Pakistan's highest ever ODI run chase. And then the last game as well, a 9-wicket thrashing at the hands of Babar Azam and Imam Haq. Unbelievable series. Honestly, it's been fantastic as a neutral. And yeah, definitely a series which I think we'll remember for a very, very long time to come.
Something I don't want to usually hear about a Pakistani-Australia series to talk about, like for years to come. But this particular one, I will be talking about because they were just outstanding. I was very impressed, especially the players you mentioned, Babar Azam, Imam Haq. And to an extent, I have to also credit Shaheen Afridi because because even if he gets hit for runs, right? Even if he's gone at like a seven economy in his 9 overs, he'll come back and pick up 4 wickets in the match, right? He is that type of bowler, and it's really, really refreshing to see Imam Haq performing, Babar Azam performing, Shaheen performing, considering the fact Hassan Ali has been on an absolute anti-tear, right? You know, when you're on a tear, you do really well. He has been atrocious throughout, not just this series, not just the test series, basically the last 4 or 5 months, 6 months from a Pakistani perspective. And it's really disappointing because there's a lot of expectation riding on a player with such experience, right? And I understand that people are saying he needs to be dropped and all that stuff. But the thing is, right, there's a lot of players who don't perform for a year and they don't get dropped, right? I think Hassan Ali, yes, he's out of form, he's out of nick, but there will be this one click that will automatically put him back into gear. And I have to mention, no Shadab Khan in this entire series as well because of injury. So a lot of positives from a Pakistani standpoint, but I also want to mention Australia didn't have David Warner, Steve Smith, Pat Cummins, Josh Hazelwood, Mitchell Stark, Mitchell Marsh. Who else didn't they have? They didn't have half of the team that I expect them to have. So even in that instance, I think Australia put on a fantastic show. The first 2 games, Australia were right on it. The final one, obviously, there was going to be some sort of collapse because it's an inexperienced side. I'm not saying these players aren't good enough, because Ben McDermott, definitely the son of Craig McDermott, shows that I'm not a bowler like my dad. What I am is a fantastic batsman. Wherever he plays in the order, just comes in and just looks like he belongs in the Australian 11 for in terms of ODI cricket, even T20. But I don't think he will be the first player that Australia would probably put in. They have their own genuine 11, and then this is a replacement 11, for lack of a better term. People might call this Australia B. People might call this Australia C. I've heard this team be called Australia D. Can you imagine, Aaron? Can you imagine? I was surprised, but definitely Australia did a really good job, and Pakistan, thankfully, they won the series. But at the same time, we have to consider the fact that there are still kinks. It's not just smooth sailing. Talking about Hassan Ali, Wasim Jr. Or Mohammad Wasim Jr. He picked up wickets. He looked good. Very surprised Shahnawaz Dahani hasn't been kind of thrown into the
Same
thick
here.
of things. At least in the T20. I thought the T20I, that was like tailor-made for him to kind of play, because Hassan Ali wasn't in form. Wasim could rest, or Shaheen could rest. There were a lot of distinctions there. Haris Rauf bowled quite well, but you can tell the Australians know how to bat against him because he's been playing BBL longer than he's been playing PSL, right? He's genuinely, they've worked him out, especially at the death. He's got like 4 or 5 tricks that he can pull off. But because of the experience of these players playing BBL with someone like Haris Rauf, Marcus Stoinis plays in the freaking same team as him, okay? It just doesn't make sense. Also, I forgot Glenn Maxwell. There's no Glenn Maxwell in Australia either, right? So Australia put on a really good show. Pakistan, thankfully, won the series. And just your thoughts on, we've mentioned Babar and Imam, but your thoughts on Australia and their performance in this particular limited over series is.
Again, very, very admirable indeed. But I will just say one thing beforehand, right? Because I know that some people will say Australia B, Australia C. You can only play what's in front of you. And Pakistan got the job done, which is the important thing. In the ODI series, of course, they've lost a one-off T20. But Australia in this series, there is an old adage here in England, it takes 2 to tango. And they were absolutely fantastic. I've been blown away, to be honest, by the performances of both these teams. It was a really gripping and compelling and exciting series. And again, you mentioned Ben McDermott, and one word straight away comes to mind when I think of his batting, and it's versatility. You can bat him anywhere from the top to the middle order. He can even act as a finisher, and he can fulfill that role to absolute perfection. I just look at him, and obviously it's a shame because it's such a competitive team. He will struggle to get regular opportunities, but I'll tell you what, when he comes into that starting 11, watch out if you are the opposition, because he can single-handedly dispatch any bowling attack which is in front of him. And someone else I just wanted to mention, again, if you look at the averages and the stats in this series, maybe he wasn't the best bowler, but Nathan Ellis continues to impress for me. He has got the extra degree of pace. He bowled quite well in the T20 as well. You just look at this Australian depth, it's ridiculous at the moment. And again, Ellis has IPL experience. It is coming to England actually this summer as well in the T20 Blast to play for Hampshire. McDermott as well has got T20 Blast experience for Hampshire, played for Derbyshire as well. It's incredible. So obviously Australia, commiserations for losing the ODI series, congratulations for winning the T20. But I'm going to keep on coming back to this overarching theme. This was a series which was so important to the nation of Pakistan, if you look at the wider picture. And these two teams have put on an absolute show, which was worthy of that crowd in Lahore. So yeah, big up to the Aussies, big up to the Pakistanis as well. Great series. And yeah, again, it's just brilliant entertainment for me as a neutral. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
I'm glad you say that with regards to the neutrality of your personal opinion, because the thing is, right, as a Pakistan fan, all I wanted was Pakistan just to win every single match, right? Yeah. But at the same time, I tried to be as diplomatic as possible in my thinking to understand, okay, these are the good points from Pakistan, these are bad, this is good from Australia, this is bad from Australia. And I tell you what, in the last ODI, I thought Pakistan was on point. I thought that was their best performance, not just in that ODI series, but in the entire tour that Australia was there, because they were ruthless, right? They were exciting, but at the same time, they knew how to get the job done. I'm sure they finished the game off quite quickly as well, with Imam and Babar having a strike rate of above 100, right? Something you don't see Imam Haq do on a consistent basis, and everyone and the entire you forget the media pressure, but the actual cricketers talk about this. He's striking at around 77 or 80 or 81, which for 20 years ago was great as an opener for a strike rate, right? But because of players like, I know Gilchrist was like 25 years ago, but you know what I mean, like Gilchrist, Sanjay Surya, then Rohit Sharma now, KL Rahul, McCullum, right? Guptill, okay?
Gale. We can
Butler.
keep going.
Yeah, we could go on and on, but because of those guys, the role of the opener has maybe slightly changed in limited overs cricket. So you expect them to go hell for leather in the power play all the time. And Imam ul Haq's kind of formed a niche for himself, especially in Pakistan, because you might know this, but I'm a huge critic of Imam ul Haq because of the fact that I've talked about him playing a selfish sort of game for most of his career. However, I said this on Twitter, I'll say it again. He has proven me wrong twice, at least in this series, maybe even 3 times. So he has been instrumental for Pakistan's success in this series. And on top of that, Babar Azam, 16 ODI centuries in 85 or 84 ODIs as well, becoming the second highest century getter from a Pakistani perspective, only second to Saeed Anwar, who's played over 200 matches. Same with Mohammad Yusuf, who played over 200 matches and scored 15 ODI centuries. So that tells you how important both of these guys are for a Pakistani top order. It's unfortunate that Fakhar Zaman had one really good innings. He scored that 60-odd. But barring that, he didn't have the best series that he could have imagined because, Imam and Babar kind of took the reins over. For me, the middle order did kind of struggle from a Pakistani perspective. And I just wanted your thoughts on that. Do you think, and I read this today somewhere, and I thought to myself, I don't think Pakistan should go back to Shoaib Malik in an ODI side of things. But I wanted your take. Do you think this is the best possible middle order Pakistan could find? Or, alternatively, where in the world is Haider Ali?
That's a great question. That is a very, very good question. But isn't this the same question that we've been talking about for years? Let's be honest. That Pakistan middle order, without the likes of Shoaib Malik and Mohammad Hafiz, who is there? I mean, I like Kushdil Shah. I must say, I do rate him.
I like South Shakil. I understand.
Well, that's the thing, but you've got to actually invest in these guys. So if Pakistan and the management think these are the best options going forward, that's your middle order. You can't keep chopping and changing, especially when the World Cup is next year, right? In terms of personnel as well, who else is there? Aside from maybe Haider Ali, could you bring Iftikhar back? Potentially, we'll have to wait and see on that. And then there is the wild card, isn't there? Certain Azam Khan, someone who, as people may be well aware, I'm a big fan of because I think he's an excellent player of spin bowling. But I think, as I said, that it's not really up to us, is it? But if the management are happy with that middle order, stick with it. Trust me, I know as an England fan, because you've seen us with our opening batsman carousel, we're still going on about that. In 2022, we've been searching for one since 2012. It's been a decade. Pakistan do not want to get caught in that vicious cycle of choosing a middle order, replacing 1 or 2 players, bringing in new players, and then the cycle keeps going and going. You've got to stick with these players. And to be honest, I don't actually mind the current middle order. Again, it would be nice if you could have the experience of a Malik or a Hafiz in there, but at some point you do have to bring in new guys as well. So yeah, it's complex, it's complicated. Do I know for 100% if Pakistan have got the right solution? No. But we'll have to wait and see. That is part and parcel of this wonderful game that we call cricket, eh?
Yeah, very, very true. This is the thing, right? I feel really bad for players like South Shakil and Khushdil Shah and Iftikhar Ahmed, because when Babar and Imam are going so well, and I said this the same thing about T20s, Rizwan and Babar are doing such a good job at the top, they kind of get, for lack of a better term, they get kind of complacent. They're doing the job, and Pakistan doesn't lose wickets in the power play, especially in T20 cricket. If you look at the stats over the past couple of years, since Rizwan and Babar's partnership, they don't lose a wicket in the power play very often. So a lot of these players don't get many overs to themselves to be able to go out and play the game that they want to play. So it's really unfortunate in some sort of way. Go on.
If that is the case, though, again, I think the onus and the emphasis is on the players to change that. Because I know you can have your style, which has suited you for years, and that is your go-to. We do see players like this, the likes of Rishabh Pants, Colin de Grandhomme's another great example of this, who only have that one gear, and you know they're going to go from 0 to 100. They could get 5 from 4 balls. They could get 100 from 30 balls. They're those kind of players. But surely, if you know that you've got these middle-order issues, as the players, you've got to take responsibility and understand that you've got to play the situation. And if that is the case, and this does keep on cropping up, maybe Pakistan might have to look at some outside-of-the-box solutions and get almost role players, because you look at the strength of that top order, and I'm talking across both ODI and T20s now, with the likes of Babar Azam, Mohammad Rizwan, Imam al-Haq, who's averaging 54 in ODIs, Fakhar Zaman. Maybe if you have got such a reliable top order and that middle order is getting complacent, maybe you just get role players in there. You maybe get a specialist spin hitter like an Azam Khan, for example. You get an accumulator. Maybe that's the way you look at it, as opposed to just getting the best in the country, because they all have very similar styles. Maybe that's something which could be achieved heading into the future. But again, only time will tell.
Yeah, that's a really valid point. And I know I said 15 minutes for today, but I just had a thought.
It's never 15 minutes, is it?
No, it's never 15
15.
minutes. Initially, Pakistan went into this considering Shadab Khan was going to be fit and Mohammad Nawaz was going to be fit, right? Which means Nawaz at 6, Shadab at 7, maybe if you play Fahim at 8, and then they go in with, or if they don't go with Fahim, they go with Hassan, Shaheen, Haris, and then Usman Qadir or Zahid Mahmood, depending on which leg spinner they want to play, right?
Qadir.
They could have right? They should,
Qadir
but
with the flipper.
They should, but this is the thing. I was quite impressed with Zahid Mahmood, I must say. I wasn't
He did a good job, but as I said, if we're looking at things which act as X factors, Usman Qadir has got the flipper.
Yes.
And he's one of the only players, at least in world cricket right now, who can execute that very, very effectively. Mm-hmm. Again, at times he does lose the radar. I'm not saying he's a perfect leg spinner, but at the same time, that can strike at any moment. So, again, another choice to be made for the men in green. Yes,
100%. And I'm glad we discussed this. This was something I've been wanting to discuss. So thank you for that. Last point, as always, Arid, Kamal moment of the limited over series. Pick one, and you can't pick another. Go on, my friend.
Oh, that's really tough. I might have to split this, and I'll have an overall moment and an individual moment. So overall has to be the second ODI, Pakistan's highest ever run chase. Remarkable. I saw on Twitter an awful lot of criticism, an awful lot of, shall we say, discourse when Pakistan did concede that massive total, but they chased it down quite exceptionally well. So for that reason, that'd be my Kamal moment team-wise. In terms of individual, this is a tough choice for me because it's between two deliveries. It's the same bowler. Mohammad Wasim. Those 2 wickets, I think it was Stoinis and who was the other wicket? Was it Cam Green? It was Cam Green.
Probably Cam Green.
I'm going to choose the Cam Green wicket because I think even the camera operator actually lost a little bit of the lateral movement in it. It was absolutely beautiful. The pace on that as well. You know, it was absolutely glorious to watch as someone who loves watching raw, fast, electrifying seam bowling. So in terms of my individual Kamal moments, Mohammad Wasim Jr. dismissing Cam Green. I thought that was an absolutely impeccable piece of bowling.
And I would tend to agree with you. However, I would have to change it up just a little bit to add in, there was a back foot punch by Babar Azam in that first game. All right. I know everyone talks about Babar Azam and his cover drives and his back foot punches. But dude, he looked so good. He looked absolutely brilliant. So I got to give it to him. However, like I said, Mohammad Wasim's 2 beautiful deliveries I understand your thought process there. But yeah, Pakistan chasing that down, great achievement. And as a whole, this tour for me was a success, right? You talk about dead pitches, all that stuff, right? Sorry, batting friendly pitches and all that stuff, right? But at the end of the day, this was a success because people got excited about cricket in Pakistan again against a team that was absolutely solid. At least we didn't lose every single match. At least we gave a fight. We gave some sort of fight for the audience to watch rather than just being 60 all out. You see what I mean? I thought this was a success, and I'm really, really glad Australia toured. I hope Australia tour again, probably in like 3 years, 4 years time. But I hope they tour again because this was really, really exciting, and it was a full tour. Unfortunately, we only had one T20I, but this was a full tour. Any last words before I end, Aaron?
Well, to be honest, Ashjad, I think you've articulated that quite well. I think the tour was a success. Obviously, the Test series, and yes, there was all of the traction as a result of the Test pitches, and yes, I didn't think they were worthy of such a historic series. But again, this is bigger than just the tour itself. This was a message to the cricketing world, basically, that Pakistan is safe to tour. Yeah. And it well and truly is, and I'll continue to echo that. It's seen the PSL hosted there, it's seen this tour, it's seen the tour of Zimbabwe and South Africa as well. Mm-hmm. But most importantly, as well for Pakistan fans, at least in the limited overs stuff, this Pakistan side are competitive. Very, very competitive. And when they are at their absolute best, they really are up there. They're always one of the best teams to watch. I've always said this about Pakistan. Whether they're on form or if they have a really bad day, there's one thing you can never, ever say about Pakistan as a team, and that's the word boring. They're never boring. They're brilliant to watch. Absolutely brilliant for us to watch as neutrals. So I'm absolutely elated for the people of Pakistan. This tour has been a massive success. And again, I echo this sentiment every single time I come onto the show. Long may this continue, because the people of Pakistan certainly deserve it.
Appreciate that. And I second that as well. Fantastic. Thank you as always, Aaron. Really appreciate the time. For everyone watching, please do like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Go over to the Cricket Connoisseur, the County Cricket Podcast. Just Google it. You'll find it. Just follow, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Really helps his algorithm and my algorithm as well. And do the same here. That would be really, really appreciated. Thank you. And until next time.